Can you see me, Mike? Awesome. Good morning. This is the Leafs Convo. Norm in London, Mike in Buffalo. It is Sunday, October 5th, 2025. The Leafs 2-3-1 in the preseason. Meh, pretty lackluster, but you and I and Mike and everybody know that it's all about the regular season leading up to the playoffs, and we're about 7 months away from that. So buckle up. The ride begins. Mr. A, good morning.
Good morning, Norm.
How are you?
Well, I mean, I'm thankful that the preseason is over with. It's long and drudgery. In talking with some of the media in Buffalo, they're all looking forward to next year it being a shorter camp and 4 preseason games. Thankfully we didn't have the antics like happened with Ottawa and Montreal or Florida and Tampa, where it's just like a Pier 6 brawl. But let's just get to the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think they were brawling? Are they indicating that those teams are ready to go at it in the regular season? Are there knuckle draggers looking for a spot in the lineup? Were the coaches spurring this on? Like, what the hell? It's the preseason. From the Maple Leafs perspective, get the effing thing over with and let's carry on with what really matters. But to be fighting and to be, dropping your gloves and just have a complete barn brawl when it really doesn't matter, why is that?
Well, I mean, with Florida and Tampa, there's visceral hatred going on between those two organizations.
It's not like they haven't played each other in a long time.
That's the whole point. They played each other in the playoffs last year. A lot of people thought that Tampa Bay was going to beat Florida. Florida wiped up the floor with them. They were physical with them, and they did what they did to Toronto and going on to their second cup. Now, they're like a wounded animal without Barkov, without Kachuk, and they're just basically showing Tampa, okay, we're not going anywhere, and Tampa's pushing back. And so you've got like Tampa Bay putting in guys who were never going to make their team in a game, and they were like going after Florida players. I mean, there was a lot of cheap shots in that.
What do you think the league thinks about that? Do they like it? Like, hey, you're generating excitement for the regular season, but again, I keep saying this: for us, exhibition play is essentially a time killer. Why the hell are these teams investing so much and potentially, hurting their own players when it really doesn't matter? I mean, maybe to each their own.
Well, somebody was suggesting that the Panthers and the Lightning shouldn't play in the preseason, but the problem is it's not like Buffalo and Toronto, where you've got these teams don't want to spend a ton of money in the preseason.
It's proximity.
It's proximity, exactly. So, like, who's the closest team next to the 2 Florida teams? It's Carolina. So it's like if you're gonna play other teams other than your neighbor in Florida, then it's going to cost more, and that is a factor. So yeah, but Ottawa and Montreal did the same thing. There was some acrimony there, and it's just I think these players, they have a little time on their hands. A lot of the regulars are essentially saying, let's stay away from getting injured.
Right.
And now the season starts.
Maybe I'm coming at it from the wrong perspective, and I'm viewing things as if the Leafs' rite of passage is to do well in the regular season and position themselves well in the postseason, where you have the Canadians and the Senators. They're going to be competing for months to come, really excited and trying to gin up that excitement ahead of the regular season to lay the table and set the table for the rivalry that will reignite. Maybe I'm just looking at it from the wrong perspective.
I mean, there's more. Let's just say there's more uncertainty,
right?
The post Marner future in Toronto, in terms of that you had him as a crutch on the right side. You could depend on him for 90 points. He's no longer there. I think that this team could be better in the playoffs without him. And anybody who's seen the Amazon Prime video of Marner during the playoffs last year, and believe me, until January 23rd, I'm going to try to talk about Mitch Marner as little as possible. But anybody who saw that hypocrite out there yelling in the locker room about everybody to start hitting, how about practicing what you preach, Mitch? Yeah. I mean, what a waste. I mean, my God.
Okay.
But anyway.
He's in Las Vegas. The Leafs are going to cut down to 23 guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
The lower body injury to Scott Laughton in the preseason, making Brad Treliving reorganize who he probably felt should be starting the year in Toronto and who should have been shipped south of the Gardiner Expressway. Does is there a sense or an indication that you're getting that Mr. Easton Cowan will make the opening night roster, in part because there's been a spot vacated by an injured player?
Well, I hope that the lineup that TSN put on the Chiron during the game and during the intermission was invented by somebody who didn't know what the hell they were talking about, because it had a whole slew of line changes in the wake of Scott Laughton being injured. We'll talk about the injury in a minute, but it had Easton Cowan playing on the third line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying, and I'm not against it. I think this kid is really talented. I just think he benefits from playing in the American Hockey League for at least the start of the season. And right now, like if you keep Cowan, then you've already placed David Kampf on waivers and he's cleared. You're risking, unless they keep 7 defensemen, you're risking exposing either Kyle Yarncroke or Nick Robertson to waivers or trading Robertson. And I just don't know if that's the best thing right now. Now, I don't know whether Nick Robertson is ever going to get a chance to play in a scoring role consistently. We've seen that over the years with Sheldon Keefe and with Craig Berube that he hasn't, but he still scores goals. So I think he's valuable in that respect, and you're not going to give him away. But for Cowan, is it better for him to play a third or fourth line role with offensive players who are not, the greatest, or is it better for him to play in the American Hockey League and at least get his feet wet professionally with the Marlies? And then after a month or so, if he's playing really well, he's confident that he's adjusted to the pro game, then you can bring him up. But right now, I would lean against it, but I don't know what they're thinking.
From what I'm reading, Craig Berube really likes the guy, and reading between the lines, I'm getting the sense that he'd be okay with Easton in the lineup against the Habs on Wednesday night. The season's just about upon us. This is the Leafs Convo. Norman London, Mike in Buffalo. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. We really, really, really do appreciate you guys being here. If you have unsubbed in the last several months, come on back, and I am seeing the subscriptions come back to us. Leafs Convo poll from last night. Leafs Society, are you following the Blue Jays playoff run? We don't like to talk about other sports too much, but it's the elephant in the room right now, the ALDS. 61 votes, 79% say yes, 7% say baseball sucks. Touche. Scott Laughton, when he was picked up last year, it was a contentious trade because many people felt like the Leafs gave away too much, and that'll always be the case, right? And you're one of them. And he had flashes, but when you break it down, he is still the kind of player the Leafs needed then and will need to go forward. The implications, not so much about filling his shoes. What do you think about not having that type of player in the lineup? Not in the most important stage of the season to get things going, but you really want to assert yourself and not stumble out of the gate. It would be nice to have guys, that are competent back there, and replacing them with the Easton Cowans of the world are fine and dandy when it comes to the pomp and pageantry of big names and high picks. But when you get down to business, can a guy like Easton Cowan fill Scott Laughton's shoes in terms of what he's supposed to be doing out there, shift in, shift out?
Well, he's not going to fill his shoes in terms of he'll be in the starting 12 if they keep him. But in terms of, that's where the whole adjustment in terms of center is the big thing. Right now, the way they were playing, it was going to be Lorenz, Laughton, and Cowan on the fourth line. And Laughton had played very well in preseason. He didn't play particularly well in the playoffs and after the trade from Philadelphia. And I think a lot of people look at what Nikita Grubyankin is doing with Philadelphia right now, and he may start the season on the top line.
Right.
And they gave up a first round pick for a guy who was purported to be a third liner and is now a fourth liner. It's not, you could say that's a good thing in terms of the depth of the Leafs up the middle, but still, in terms of asset management, that's a regrettable. But I think he's a good player. It was unfortunate that he blocked a shot against Detroit and he suffered whatever injury. They just said lower body and that he's going to be out a couple weeks.
The irony of getting injured and the Leafs not having him for doing the kinds of things we want him to do. Maybe not to this extent in the preseason, but certainly when the spring rolls around, that's what you'd expect from a player like that. So bravo in a way. Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, the report or the indication is that he might have a broken bone in his foot. And if that, from blocking a shot. So if that's what it is, it's going to be a few weeks. But the adjustment here was, and I've been a proponent, at least to start the season, to see how it works, to see how it gels, is to have Max Domi playing on the wing with Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes. Max Domi is a friggin' disaster playing up the middle. He cannot play the middle. He's a defensive liability. And the first move that they make, at least according to the TSN lineup, I don't know whether they got that from the Leafs or that's just what they're imagining, is moving Domi down to third line center, splitting up Dakota Joshua and Nicolas Roy, and having Joshua, who can play center, playing center on the fourth line.
They have Max Domi listed as a center on the Leafs website. So technically he's a center. You don't like that one bit.
He's listed as a center. He's not a center. But yeah, I mean, they have him listed there, but there are other places that have him listed as center wing. So he has and can play the wing. And I do think that that's the best place for him. And what they have is Matias Maccelli moving up to the top line. I don't like that. I just don't think it's going to work. So, but okay.
How are you going to know? How are you going to know if it's going to work unless you try it, Mike? Again, it's the first. How many games? Sorry, and I'll let you continue. How many games grace will you give the Maple Leafs out of the gate? Like just to get things humming along, experiment a little bit, and before it's really time to pick it up and start collecting points.
None. I don't give them any grace. Period.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But they've played 6 measly preseason games. We're talking about condensing that schedule as well. When the hell is the team going to be able to figure out what it really has and how it comes together in the right way?
This isn't the Buffalo Sabres. You give them a grace period for the first month of the season, and they're out of the playoffs. I mean, that's the problem here. I mean, we're talking about a team that is going to be or should be top 3 in.
But there's a lot of new guys on the team, Mike.
I know that, but that's the reason why I'm opting for familiarity here. Max Domi has played with Matthews and has been successful with Matthews.
You're right.
Matias Maccelli is coming off a 17-point season with the Utah Hockey Club. I'm not disparaging Maccelli. I think Maccelli was a good acquisition. Right. They gave up nothing for him. But I'm just saying, I don't think plopping him on the top line and basically everybody, Matias Maccelli, MM is replacing another MM.
Right.
No.
Right. But look at Mike, in Craig Berube, we've got to trust. Year 2, he sees it. They know it. This team is going to be flawed to start the season, and hopefully, as time goes on, it'll repair itself and strengthen based on guys being comfortable in particular roles. This is the Convo. Norman London, Mike in Buffalo. Like the content. Thank you very much for being here this morning. James Reimer gave up 4 goals in that preseason finale against the Wings. I mean, you said before we went live that he made some pretty good saves. Mm-hmm. Look, the next 72 hours is going to be very important for Brad Treliving in terms of roster moves and getting guys signed up. So before puck drop, Leafs Habs on Wednesday night at Scotiabank Arena, there's just a lot to tie up. How do you think things work out for James Reimer?
Well, I think that they're likely going to sign James Reimer to a 1-year deal after teams cut down to 23, because after teams cut down to 23, they've decided on their 2 goalies. Right. Last year, the Sabres tried the same thing, and Anaheim claimed James Reimer because John Gibson got hurt. So you have to read the landscape of the league and see, is anybody going to claim him? I don't know whether James Reimer wants to play anywhere else. Maybe he'll go wherever he's signed. But
isn't he from Manitoba?
Yes, but I mean, and I know Hellebuck had some injury issues, but I think he's back now. So, but that's sort of the risky proposition. But I think the NHL roster right now is going to be Stolarz and Hildeby.
Any news on Wall?
No, I mean I mean, we don't know what it is, and I'm not going to speculate on it. But I think the fact that they brought in Reimer on a PTO it was indicative of they just don't know what's going on. It's a family thing. That's
Right.
all we know. But
When you take I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if it really matters, but when you apply and are granted a personal leave, are there parameters? Is there a time frame that you're allowed to be away from the team before you have to check back in and
I'm
extend?
sure I'm sure he's checking back with them. I can't imagine that he wouldn't be. I mean, it's you would have to. I mean, it has implications for the season. It has implications for their roster. So I would assume he's not incommunicado. So
Okay. Yeah.
but again, we don't know the nature of it. But if it's like a family illness or something like that, I'm sure the Leafs are going to give Joseph Woll the time, and I think everybody could be understanding of that. We'll probably find out after the fact what exactly happened.
So Stolarz with his new contract, we never really talked much about that because
Yeah.
when we wrapped up our show last week, Stolarz and the Leafs officially put pen to paper. What was it? 4 years, a $3.75 million AAV.
Yeah,
Were you happy with You had to be happy with that. We were thinking anything under four would work.
Please, the rumors that Elliot Friedman was reporting, and I think Pierre LeBrun as well, was in the 4.5 million range. From what I understand,
So was the reporting wrong?
no. From what I understand, the AAV, the Leafs wanted the term as short as possible, and what they've done with Tanev and what they've done with McCabe and what they've done with Tavares is they'll give the extra year to spread the AAV out a little more. With Tavares and McCabe, they also used deferred salary. Here, getting him under 4 million for the fourth year, I think True Living has positioned this team extremely well in terms of locking up their talent for as little as possible and maintaining flexibility in the wake of Marner going, because if Marner had signed for $13.5 million, they'd be right up against the cap like they normally are. The cap is going up. They have players locked in at reasonable salaries, which leaves them with a lot of room, maybe at the deadline and maybe next summer. I mean, with Stolarz, it's not ability, it's availability. It's always been. It's like, and that's why like everybody is a little curious about him getting dinged up against Montreal last Saturday, getting hit against Detroit. Teams know that he's vulnerable, and they know that Dennis Hildeby is the number 2. And that's not saying Dennis Hildeby is not a good young goalie, but they know there's a drop off between Stolarz and Dennis Hildeby. So you can imagine that play like Josh Anderson on the Montreal Canadiens is going to be standing in front of the crease and just by the way, hitting Stolarz as he's going through the crease. So
Do the Leafs now have players who can protect and counteract that kind of behavior?
Sure.
Okay.
But I mean, Brandon Carlo can do it, and then there are big forwards up front. They just have to make sure they send the signal that you mess with our guy, we're going to mess with you. We mess with your guys.
How many games do you need to see from Stolarz for you to say that contract, albeit a pretty good one when you break things down, was worth it?
Well, I mean, it's a tandem contract, and that's why. I mean, look at the salary structure for the Leafs. You've got next year, you will have Stolarz at 3.75. He's making 2.5 this year. You'll have Stolarz making 3.75 next year, and you will have Woll making 3.66. So the total of the two of them is less than any one of the top 10 salaries for one goalie. Like you see
$7 million a year for 2 goalies who are pretty damn good when they're playing.
But it's a tandem, and so I expect Stolarz and I expect Woll because of they're both not. I don't think, at least they haven't shown it, to be capable of playing 60 games. They don't need to. They need to play at the time of the year that the Leafs need them to play. I think they're going to split it right down the middle. I think they're going to play a 40-40, maybe a little more one way or the other, maybe because Woll is away from the team. He doesn't get as many starts in October, but I think they're going to split it down the middle.
So Stolarz will be the opening night goaltender. Dennis Hildeby will be backing him up. And there's a strong likelihood that James Reimer is signed and is playing for the Marlies until further notice, and if or he's needed.
Yeah, he's, as I said, he is the assumptor of the Matt Murray throne. He
Right.
is going to be that third goalie who plays, once every couple weeks with the Marlies just to stay sharp. But he practices at Ford Performance Center, maybe even practices with the Leafs, but he'll be on the Marlies roster. So he's there, break glass in case of. And then Hildeby and Artur Akhtiamov get the lion's share of the work with the Marlies. So that, I think that's the formula that they're going to follow.
What are you thinking for this year in the Atlantic Division? I could see the Leafs winning the division. I could see the Leafs fighting for a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Like at this stage of the game, if I were lazy in predicting things and just picking teams in terms of how they may finish, I could say I think the Leafs will win another division. Why the hell not? I mean, not having Marner, sure, but a lot of guys have returned, and there's unfinished business. And the Atlantic has improved, in my opinion, but it's not going to be lights out unless it is, and I'm wrong about that, which is very well possible. So if I'm thinking the Leafs could either win the division or be fighting for a playoff spot, which side would you fall on in terms of your early season prediction as of right now this morning on October 5th, Sunday morning, before the Jays go up 2-0 on the Yankees?
I think the Leafs will be a top 3 team in the Atlantic Division. I'm not sure about winning the division because, as we know, that's not really important. I mean, last year it got you Ottawa, and Ottawa was a tough out. And then it got you Florida, and you had home ice advantage, and you didn't take advantage of it. I think being in the top 3 will be beneficial. Now, you look at Tampa. Are they as good as they were last year? They're the same team as they were last year. And Vasilevsky played 1 game in the preseason, so they were, sort of babying whatever issues that he has. But I think that they have a very good chance of winning the division because they're just a solid team.
Does it mean anything? Like they won the division? They won the division last year. They got into the second round. Florida finished 3rd in the division, and they won another Stanley Cup.
No. I mean, it was nice that they won the Atlantic Division, but the only way it meant something is if you took advantage of it, and they didn't.
Right.
So, Florida, I think, is that team that could finish in the wild card because without Barkov and without Tkachuk for the first half of the year, they just need to stay within range. Once they get Tkachuk back in probably January, then they're and you cannot convince me that Bill Zito won't go out and acquire somebody to fill Barkov's shoes. Which is almost impossible, but I could see like Evgeny Malkin going to Florida at the deadline or something like that. So I think Florida will not be as good in the regular season, but will at least get a wild card. And okay, hey Leafs, you win the Atlantic Division. Here's your reward: the Florida Panthers.
Right.
That would be this. That would be the Leafs. So
can't imagine, Mike, I can't imagine the Sabres are going to do much. Boston just started so poorly coming off a big season prior to, and they finished in the basement. I mean, are they going to be a non-factor, or will they find another gear and work their way back into a position of some kind of relevance?
Well, I'll do it this way. Trending up, I think, is Ottawa. I think they're going to be as good or better than they were last year. Brady Tkachuk needs to be healthy, but I think they're a solid team. There's still some holes there, but I think they're a solid team. I think Montreal is going to take a step back.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
no, they don't think that in Montreal. They're as deluded as Yankees fans right now.
Yeah, of course they are. They're drinking that Blue Blanc and Rouge water. I mean, it's like, I'm sorry. No, I mean, they don't have a second line center.
Right.
They added Noah Dobson, who is another offensive defenseman when they had an offensive defenseman in Lane Hudson. So it's sort of, cross purposes. They're the same type of defenseman, although I think Hudson's more dynamic offensively. And their goaltending still is, I think, average. They got very lucky at the end of the season where Montembeault and Jakub Dobeš played really well down the stretch, and they got into the playoffs. And but I don't like their depth, and they're expecting Demidov to be Pavel Bure. And I think that's ridiculous. I think he's going to be a really good player, but to expect him to all of a sudden just come in to the league and dominate, I don't think that's going to happen.
What,
so
wild expectations out of Montreal? Yeah. Wow, that's new.
Yeah, shocking. I think the Bruins are going to be better than people expect. I mean, they're not as deep as they used to be, but I think Swayman will be better this year, and all their defense is healthy. So I think they may not make the playoffs, but I think they'll be better than they were last year. Buffalo is starting the season with Alex Lyon as their starting goaltender because Luukkonen is hurt. 4 of their 6 defensemen have been hurt during the preseason. They did not replace JJ Peterka, their second leading scorer. Their answer to improvement is we're going to play better defense. 2 years ago, they said the same thing, and they played better defense, and their offense wasn't as good. So am I optimistic about the Sabres? No. Detroit, they got Gibson. So now they have a goalie. But look at how Gibson played last night. You could say preseason, it means nothing. He didn't look particularly good. So, I mean, I don't, they've got good players. Do they have enough good players? That's the question.
How did the Sabres score more goals than the Maple Leafs last year? Well, we know because 34 scored 35, but that's pretty wild. Watching the preseason, you see the Senators and the Habs going at it. The Florida teams hate each other, right? It's like a soccer derby. Regardless, they could be playing pickup hockey, and they're going to go at it. But they're doing this in a way to lay the gauntlet down when it comes to how they are going to approach the regular season versus these teams. How would you say the Leafs need to tackle this? Is it just business as usual, just robotically go through the process? You got guys who can play. You may not score as much. You may give up less. It's about working your way forward and winning more than you lose. Or does this team have to kind of get reinvigorated and reset its goals, right? Because of the new guys, the way the rest of the division is evolving. That's for me, that's the big question. Can this team just continue to do what it has done in a clinical fashion and get to the playoffs in a spot where it needs to be? Or are you rolling up your sleeves again with a new sense of purpose and the past be damned? Last few words to you, Mike. We'll talk baseball and get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a different team. This is not going to be a top-heavy team. They are going to need offense from their bottom 6. I think they'll get it from Waugh and Joshua and Laughton and Lorenz, and we'll see if Cowan mixes in there. Maybe Nick Robertson. They're going to need them to score because obviously if it's Domi on the top line, he's not going to have 102 points. Matthews is going to have to be 50-goal Matthews, and I think he will be. I think Matthew Nyes will take a step forward. I mean, William Nylander could score 50 goals this year.
Why are you thinking these guys are going to score so much, Mike? And I'm not contesting this assertion or this prediction. I'd love to see it, but what makes you think that Austin Matthews is going to score 50? Is it just because he's so pissed off about last year and how things went?
Well, I'm
from Nylander 50 goals. That's a lot to ask.
From all reports, Matthews is healthy.
Right.
And I think that was the thing that really dragged him down last year. And every time he was healthy in previous years, he scored 45 to 50 goals. And then the one year he scored 69 goals. So, I look at him. I look at what Nylander has done the last 2 years, 40 goals both years, 40 plus. He was second in the Rocket Richard last year. Next to, I think it was Draisaitl that won it.
Right.
You look at Joshua, you look at Roy, they've scored in double figures in goal. I mean, getting double figures in goals on your third and fourth line is unheard of with the Leafs when you have like David Camp scoring 5. So I mean, I think that you look at the balance of their 4 forward groups, and I think John Tavares is going to score 38 this year? No.
But you'll make that up with what Nyes may be able to produce extra.
Right. And I think if they give Robertson a third line role, he could score 20. He's got a shot. They just have to overlook his defensive issues. I mean, and I think he's trying to improve defensively. I just don't know whether he's going to actually get the shot. But I mean,
But they hire coaches for hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to work on players to help make them better.
Well, and I think he's worked on his game, but I mean, let's just say this: if they put him on waivers, he's getting claimed. Nobody,
sure.
There's not.
Well, they know that.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think it's going to happen. It's either he's going to make the team and they're going to give him an opportunity, or he's going to get traded.
They don't necessarily want him on their team, but they don't want him on any other team either. Where do the Leafs finish this year?
Second in the Atlantic.
Who wins it?
Tampa.
Tampa's. You got to think Tampa's going to play with a burr in the saddle.
Mm-hmm. I think Ottawa will finish third, and I think it's going to probably be one wild card from the Atlantic, and that'll be Florida.
So you think Montreal's going to miss out?
I think Montreal's going to miss the playoffs.
With your hockey news gig and all of the podcasts that you partake in, have you ever dipped your toe in the Montreal podcast waters to make it known how you feel?
Oh no! When they bring up a Montreal question, I salivate because it just gives me an opportunity to bury them because I mean, I give them a lot of credit for making the playoffs last year when nobody expected them to, and they've got some good top line talent with Slavkovsky, Suzuki, Caulfield. I just don't think they're deep enough, and that's why they're so reliant on Demidov being a dynamic offensive force. And if he's not, if he's a rookie and has a good rookie year and say he scores 50 points, then they're gonna have to hope to Sidney Crosby wants to go play for his dad's favorite team at the deadline next February or March after the Olympics, and I don't know if that's going to happen. So that's why I think that they're going to miss out.
Do you put as much stock into like offensive defensive differential the same way that we tend to do in baseball, meeting goals for versus goals against and what you end up with? I mean, the Leafs were a plus 37 last year, whereas Tampa finished second in the division was like a plus 80.
Mm-hmm.
268 goals for the Leafs last year. Marner's not a guy who typically scores a ton of goals, so you think you can make up for it. If Austin Matthews has a resurgence this year and hits near the 50 mark, if you think Nylander continues to trend forward, I mean, 45 goals or whatever he scored, that's a lot from him. I'm not sure if asking for too much more is either out of the realm of possibility, or if you're just completely crazy. Do you think the Leafs can score more than 268 goals this coming season and give up fewer than the 231 they gave against? Because that certainly was it was something to shake a stick at, actually.
I don't think they can score more goals than they did last year. I think they can score as many, and I think they can give up less. They have to be better defensively. I think their defense is much better, and that's the formula. I mean, their third and fourth lines last year were abysmal. Max Domi playing center on that third line just doesn't work. It's not an offensive line. It wasn't a defensive line. It was just a line, and it wasn't consistent. So, that's why the additions of Joshua and Wah and Michelli, those will be beneficial. I mean, you look at the standings last year, Montreal was a minus 20. They made it. They snuck in by the skin of their teeth. The previous year, the team that just got in the playoffs was Washington. Their minus was ridiculous. But if you look at the teams that make the playoffs, they're the teams that are in the plus.
Right. Look, if you score a ton and don't give up many, that's great. But it really comes down to when you're hot and when you're not. That second place prediction from the Maple Leafs for 2025, 2026, I don't think is crazy. I do believe the Leafs are going to have to grind out wins and be successful in a different way. They're not going to win with fire wagon hockey. I mean, they'll implode before that happens. There's going to be a lot more close scoring games, and if you feel like you brought in the personnel who are there for those types of games and are willing to do what it takes to to make your team as successful as possible, then we shall see how it all plays out. Mr. Augello, I can't believe the regular season is, 3 days away. I'm excited for it. We'll be back for episode 4, season 8 of the Leafs Convo. Like the content, subscribe to the channel. The Jays win 10-1, game 1 of the ALDS with the Yankees at Rogers Center. Game 2 tonight or this afternoon. I like how they really get these games going, right? They're thinking the month of October is when the baseball postseason will be settled, and hopefully there's a champion crown before November rolls around. Look, Luis Gil, he didn't look very impressive, left some balls over the plate, and Vladdy and Kirk made him pay for it. Really, for me, it's about the start. It's about the start for either the Jays or the Yankees. The Yanks had their opportunities. Judge striking out with the bases loaded, and that was a big opportunity for them that they didn't capitalize on. But I mean, today, if the Yankees can get to you Savage early in the game, I don't like the Jays' chances playing from behind in the same way in the playoffs as they were able to overcome during the regular season. What say you when it comes to game 1 of the LDS or game 2 of the LDS?
Well, I mean, I'll just briefly looking back, it was a 2-1 game until it was blown open, and
Right.
it was 2-1 in the top of the 7th.
Right.
So it was a close game. Luis Gil gave up two solo shots, but they pulled him early because he had probably sat, I think, 10, 11 days since his last start. The Yankees did the same thing that they did against the Red Sox ace. They couldn't hit Gossman, just like they couldn't hit Garrett Crochet. Again, game 1, the same thing. They bring in that gas can Luke Weaver, and he blows the game. And he will be sent out on a barge on the Hudson River before he comes back.
And he was the superstar of the team 1 year ago.
Yeah. And that's the major league. That's the major leagues in terms of relief pitching. 1 year you can be a hero. The next year you can be a GOAT. And the funny thing is, Aaron Judge went 2 for 4 yesterday.
Right.
And it wasn't just him that struck out with the bases loaded. It was Giancarlo Stanton as well. So they did this. They did the same thing against the Red Sox in game 1. They had first and second, nobody out in the first inning, didn't get a run home. They had bases loaded, nobody out in the bottom of the 9th, down 3-1, and didn't get a run home. You have to try real hard to have bases loaded, nobody out, and get nobody home. So now game 2. Savage is somebody who was in AAA last year, but so is Cam Schlittler. So, I mean, you don't really know whether that means anything. That the sort of mystery of not knowing the guy is sometimes better.
And he's not an also-ran, Mike. I mean, he was a phenom. He was a phenom. He's the minor league pitcher of the year.
Yeah. So, I mean, he could. I mean, the kid early from the Red Sox pitched really well. But I think probably Schneider is going to have a quick hook on Savage if it's not up to the task. I mean, Max Fried has been great all year, and he pitched a gem in game 1 against the Red Sox. It wasn't his fault that the only offense they got was Anthony Volpe's solo shot.
Right.
And I think you mentioned before the show that the Jays have done well against Fried. That was in the regular season.
Right.
This is the playoffs. So
yeah, well, he's gonna need to be good. I feel like the team that gets the advantage early in game 2 will be the team that takes the advantage into game 3 in New York. If either one of these teams, one of the teams is going to advance, Jays or Yankees, you think either one of these teams ends up the World Series champion?
It depends on whether. I mean, right now, I know the Dodgers beat the Phillies. I'm just not sold on the Dodgers being able to string it all together. But if they get by the Phillies, they're going to beat whoever the Cubs or the Brewers.
Well, Strom gave up a 3-run shot to Teoscar Hernandez opposite field. I thought the Phillies had that game. I mean, geez, it's funny how things can turn on its head. Yet I would still, if I'm a manager and I'm a fan of the game, I want to see my team play with the lead and not have to try to count down outs before they're able to equalize and potentially reclaim the advantage, because that's just so difficult to do. The pressure just increases every inning with more outs as we get closer to the end. And the Yankees are 2 losses away from being bounced. The Jays 3. We'll see how it all plays out this afternoon. What else is going on with you, Mr. A?
Not much. We're gearing up for the regular season at Hockey Hot Stove. Our traffic was so excellent last week that we fried our server. So we are in the process of getting a dedicated server. So we will have unfettered ability to bring the news of in the hockey season. Probably will be up in the next day or two. We hope so. And we'll also the Leafs Convo will be on our podcast page. We were doing upgrades to our website when this whole thing happened. Off the post, we're going to have Steve Dangle on the show tomorrow. So we're trying to gear up everything for the regular season, and unfortunately, this server issue has cost us a little bit of momentum. But I think it's just an indication of the positive things that are going on at Hockey Hot Stove.
Well, really proud of you, Mike. Nice to see your progress from where it all started to where it is now and where it's going to go. It's just really, really awesome to witness. OG's converts, like the content, subscribe to the channel. Come on back if you unsubbed. Want you to sub this time around and stick with us. Plenty of shows to come between now and wherever the hell the Maple Leafs take us in the spring. Let's hope it's a great regular season for the most part, and the Leafs get done what they need to get done in the right way based on the evolution of this group's time together in the NHL, because we all know there is unfinished business for the Maple Leafs. We just got to be along for the ride and enjoy it. For Mr. Augello, I'm Norm James. We'll talk to you soon. The Leafs Convo is up.